Now, we're really delighted to welcome our next guest, who's going to suddenly be a big part of the rugby landscape in this country. He is the new Connacht coach. Andy Friend, you're there. Hello.
Hello, gotcha.
You're very welcome to Ireland. So, tell us how all this happened then.
It was a few months ago now. It was probably 3 or 4 months ago now. I received a phone call to say that Connacht were in the market for a coach, and if I had an interest, they'd like me to apply for that, which I did, and came over here. I met Willie Ruan and the board, and a few board members, and we seemed to connect. Then I was offered the job, and was very grateful and honoured to get the position, and have been here and have loved every minute since we've been here.
And as these things happen, it was one of those phone calls, I'm sure, which comes out of the blue. Had you been hoping for one of those phone calls to arrive from somebody somewhere, or were you happy where you were?
No, I was on the lookout for a new job. I just left the Australian Sevens. We just finished the Commonwealth Games, and I was looking at the next venture, and it was, as you say, a very pleasing phone call to receive. Yeah,
so I make it you're about, coaching for 23 years now, and you've been, obviously, Australia, England, your time at Harlequins, Japan, now Ireland, so it's quite the nomadic life that you've been living.
We've just moved into our 15th home in 23 years, so that's a lot of moving. I've got a very patient wife, and we got 2 boys back in Australia who've managed to see the world. So there's a lot of pluses with it. Probably not everyone's cup of tea, but it suits our lifestyle.
Wow, 15 and 23. That must be some kind of record, really. That's a lot of unpacking cutlery.
We don't have a lot of junk, I can tell you that.
No, I wouldn't think so. Had you spent any real time in Ireland before now, Andy?
No, not really. When I coached Harlequins, I worked. We played against Connacht in a European Cup match. So I came across here 2007, I think it was. So I'd spent 2 days here and played Connacht. And then I came back. Our youngest boy at the time was playing for Connacht Rugby, and we came here on a tour. So I spent a couple of days in Galway on that trip. But shy of that, that's all we did. I'm
sure plenty of people have told you it rains lots in Galway.
I've been amazed at how many people talk about the weather. When you meet them and they say welcome, and then they say the weather's normally not this good. So I'm told it does rain a lot, but I promise you that the weather's not going to get me down. Okay, good. Well, it both rains a lot and it's a national obsession. So get used to talking about the weather. It's small talk 101 in this country. You'll have to do that. Not far behind it will be the rugby. So you've taken on this challenge and you're jumping in at Connacht. I saw you make the point in an interview recently that your first rugby meeting was basically, how do we want to play? How do we want people to describe how Connacht play? What answers came, or what answers did you bring to that conversation? Well, pleasingly, I just agreed with what the players said. It's the way I believe we should play too. So we've got 3 words that describe our game. One is tempo. We want to play an up-tempo game. The second one is accurate. So, in order to do that, sometimes you can play up tempo, but the skill set's not there, and there's a lot of error. So we need to be accurate. Therefore, we need to focus on the small things and get the detail in our game. And the last one is physical. Rugby's a combative game, so you need to be physical, and you need to be up for that challenge. So there's another word I'll add to that, and that is ambitious. My view is you need to be ambitious to play the game of rugby, and you can't go out there dreading mistakes, because if you do, you play with that fear and you don't see the best in people. So, as a squad, they're what we call our big rocks, and they're hopefully what people are going to see when they come and watch us play.
It's very interesting listening to you. You're not a million miles off, I think, Pat Lam. I think Pat Lam, somewhere, if he's listening, would be nodding his head. Has anyone made that point to you?
No, they haven't. I know Pat. I coached against Pat when I was at the Brumbies, and he was with the Auckland Blues. So I've known him. We're going to reacquaint ourselves with each other's company this weekend. We head off to Bristol tomorrow, so I'll get to see Pat there. But I haven't had that linkage just yet.
Well, he seemed to bring a lot of those ideas, and accuracy, and he got players to bring a ball with them everywhere they went, just to kind of familiarise themselves with the ball. And he really wanted to develop skill set and talked about things like tempo as well. And maybe it was a bit of a blip last year on a few fronts and didn't quite work out. But that expansive rugby, that you talk about. It's funny, before Pat Lam, people would have said, well, that's not synonymous with Connacht. And now the way you're talking, funny enough, it's as if Connacht are getting back to their best values.
Yeah, well, I'm actually here at University of Limerick. I've just watched the under-18 boys put away Munster 18s 47-17, and they played with that tempo and that style, and they were offloading and they were moving the ball to width, and it was brilliant to watch. And everyone watching the game there was just commenting on the great tempo and the great skill that Connacht just displayed. I think wherever you go in the world, I mean, at the moment, the Connacht boys there wearing the green jersey, so it's great to see that. But whenever you see that football, you see spectators with smiles on their faces, and you see people wanting to come through the gates and watch it. So for me, that's the way the game should be played.
And when you survey the skill set that you have to work with, the players, the skills, the handling skills, do you feel like there's work to be done, or do you think you're kind of ready to put some of this game plan into action?
No, I think we're ready. There's a great skill set within the team. I think the tricky bit's going to be with that Connacht weather when it comes in. That's going to make life a little bit harder. And whilst we want to be ambitious, we can't be flippant and we can't be reckless. So it's how we temper that when the weather gets inclement, as it will do, and I'm sure it will do. But we'll need to play with control. So it's not a helter-skelter style of game that we want to play. But with what I've seen with the players to date, there's a very good skill set there. We'll always get better at it, and that's our intention, to get better at it. But we're starting from a pretty high base. Yeah.
And what do you see as a realistic ambition for Connacht this year, Andy?
Well, listen, we always get asked that as coaches, and my response is, we want to win the thing. Is it realistic? At this point in time, it is. If it's not, we shouldn't be entering the competition. So, every game, every single game that we play, I want us to go in there saying we're going to win this game. Realistically, we're not going to win them all. I know that, but I want us to go out there and play a style of game that gives us the best chance of winning. If we don't win, then I want us to walk off saying, well, we couldn't have given anything else out there. So, where that takes us, I'm not sure yet, but that's certainly the way we're going to enter the comp.
Yeah, because I was looking at newspapers today, or certainly yesterday, and there was quotes about we have to aim to win this thing. The aim is to win, and if that sounds foolish, then so be it.
Yeah, exactly, and I honestly mean that. Like, once people get to know me, I'm a very competitive person. I don't enter any competition. Sometimes people don't even know they're in a competition with me. I'm supposed to be walking down the street, and in my head, I'm going to beat that person across that line. So, and I do, and I have a little celebration internally. But that's the way I'm wired. We're all built differently. That's the way I'm wired. So I won't ever sit there and say, I'm happy coming mid-table. I'm not.
Yeah.
If we end up mid-table, fair enough, we've got work to do, and we'll try and work on that and make sure we improve it the next year.
So can we look forward to some very cranky Andy Friend interviews post-match if Connacht haven't played well?
Well, that's the other thing. When you get to know me, mate, I obviously, my wife often tells me I don't have great emotions, but I actually do. I can get upset, but it's very rare. I tend to be able to control that, and I suppose after 23 years in the coaching job, you learn to control your emotions well. If you ride every high and every low, it becomes a pretty tough occupation, but I try and keep a pretty even keel on it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you must have learned so much about coaching. You talk about the highs, you talk about the lows. Like, you've kind of seen it all. I guess you would over 23 years. Like, your third season at the Brumbies, 2 games in, your contract's terminated. So you've dealt with, like, those jolting, sickening, horrible moments where you have to go home to your family and say, I lost my job today.
Yeah, they probably knew that one was coming, as did I about a week before. But, that's not the only time I've lost my job either. It happened in 2003 at the Waratahs, 2004 at the Waratahs, and that was the first time I'd been sacked as a coach. And, I got a few calls from other coaches that said, welcome to coaching. You can now call yourself a coach because you've been sacked. So I think that's just part of the territory. And, if you get too upset with that sort of stuff, you shouldn't be in the job. Our job's one that we want the teams we're coaching to win. Not everything we do is going to appease every person that watches, and sometimes the oil and water don't mix, and sometimes you just get the mix wrong. So that's happened a couple of times. I've lost my job there, but there've been plenty of other occasions where we've had some great teams and some great victories and some great great times working with good people.
It's no doubt. It's great that you're down watching the academy playing in Limerick this afternoon, and I guess you're probably at that stage where you're trying to get a feel for the province. You know, the makeup of the people and the fans. Again, not to reference Pat Lam, but it was probably something he tried to do and try and take the game just outside of Galway. Are you getting a chance to travel around a little bit, or has it all been too hectic?
No, we've managed to head out to the Connemara. My second week here, we're out at Ballina, and we had the summer camp out there. We played in Athlone the other day, and spent a nice night there. I stayed there after the game and went to the oldest pub in Ireland, which was the Sean's, which was good to see and have a Guinness in that. So listen, I do believe it's important to get out and not just stay in Galway, because it is a province that we're representing. It's not just the city of Galway or the county of Galway. So as best we can, we've been trying to get out and see a bit more of the west of Ireland, and I've enjoyed what we've seen to date. Yeah.
Away from rugby, so 23 years of ups and downs coaching rugby in as we said, in Australia and Japan and England and now Ireland. Obviously life goes on in the background the whole time. This charity cycle, I was just reading through your background, and the charity cycle shortly after leaving the Brumbies, after losing that job that we mentioned. It's funny how life can grab you and take in a different direction very quickly with the most unforeseen type of events. Your wife in this case.
Yeah, listen, we had losing jobs is one thing, but when there's an injury to a loved one of yours, that puts everything in perspective. So that had happened around 9 months before I lost my job. I suppose as a coach, you just keep working and you get on with things. And to be honest, the sacking at the Brumbies was probably the best thing that could have happened, because it gave me time then to focus on Kerry, and we took a year off work, and I came up with this harebrained idea to ride a mountain bike from the top of Australia down the bottom of Australia. So it was all around trying to give Kerry a purpose. We'd met each other as bound instructors, and the bits of reading that I'd done on brain injury was all about trying to declutter the brain and to give them a sense of purpose. So anyway, we came up with this idea, and 93 days after starting in Cooktown, we made it down to Canberra, and it was one of those things that, had I not been sacked, I probably never would have done it. So out of negative times comes really good times, and probably one of the more special things we've done.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I was reading you would cycle and she was driving the support vehicle. That's a lot of thinking time for a man on a bike.
It is, yeah. It was anywhere between 8 and 12 hours a day, and you're just on your own, because it was on a horse trail. It's the longest horse trail in the world, so you don't see a lot of people on those horse trails, unfortunately. So yeah, you get a lot of time to contemplate things and to think things through. And I did a lot of solo time there, and I honestly believe it was probably one of the things that's helped me be the person I am today. And so for that, I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, amazing. Must chat to you about it again sometime. It's probably on everyone's bucket list vaguely to do something like that. But as you said, life's too busy most of the time. Yeah, we get caught up in things that often hold us back from the things we should be doing. As a good mate said to me one day, he said, if you end up winning the rat race, you're still a rat. So try and get out of the rat race. I like that. So I guess, listen, we'll check in across the course of the season. It's really just a case of saying a hello and wishing you well for the year ahead. I think 4 of the first 5 games are at home, so the hope would be, certainly from your point of view, is let's get some momentum, let's get people into the sports ground and let's get going. Yeah,
that's right, Joe. Listen, we're calling it the Month of Champions because it's out of the last 4, the 4 champion teams have won the last 4 years, of which Connacht's won. They're all going to be on show at the sports ground, so it's going to be a great month of rugby. For us, it's going to be a real litmus test to see exactly where we're at. Ideally, we're playing that brand of football that's bringing W's at the end of it. If it doesn't, then we know early on that we need to adjust a few things If it is, then great. We'll just keep working and keep playing the style of football that's getting us the win. So lots of positive things to be looking forward to the Connacht fans, and hopefully we put smiles on their faces.
Great. Well, congratulations on the appointment. Very best of luck. Really hope it goes well. Thanks, Andy.
Good on you, Joe. Thank you.